and welcome. It is 2026 and it's our first episode of Foundation 101 webcast where I'm joined as usual by Kat Zagati. Kat Zagati, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thanks for having me again.
Hey, so we start a new series. What shall we start with today?
So today we would like to take stock of what we've seen over the course of 2025 and where we believe the UAE is headed as a wealth structuring jurisdiction, especially from a global perspective. So can you give us the firm's view of a few trends? Why do you believe they are meaningful and what they mean for the UAE?
So fascinating stuff, this, because it's about looking back at what happened, looking at what's happening around the world and where we think it is heading. And I think you need to start with the macro. There is a shift of prominence, shall we say, among global financial centers, and this has happened over the years and is continuing throughout 2025, and we think is continuing going forward. The UAE has risen in prominence amongst many factors, stability being one of them, but the rating as a financial center is another one. And this does not come by accident. This is a deliberate policy-making choice of saying we want to be as or two, actually, Abu Dhabi and Dubai financial centers, global financial centers that have value, that have a seat at the table, which is increasingly smaller. There is today only 12 financial centers in the world that are deemed global. The UAE has two of them, and clearly they are gunning for the top spot. So, as I mentioned before, stability is, of course, one of these key criteria. You need a stable environment. You need a strict and credible regulatory framework. You need transparent policy as to fiduciary structure, but all you also need is predictability of the tax system and whatever exemption you can get. Adds to that a dash of innovation, and that's where we are today. So as we see, the UAE will continue to attract as it has this year, and we believe will continue to be successful. And you can see that from how much smart money chose to call Dubai home, whether as a single hub or a multi-hub strategy.
I see. So this is for the macro perspective, as you said. What about trends as far as specific tools, solutions, and user base, for instance?
So if you look at these numbers of people that are new to the UAE, let's call them the sophisticated international global players. They matter because they do not only come to the UAE to take a residence. It is not unusual. I would actually argue it is almost standard now for whoever comes from abroad to consider local fiduciary wealth management, wealth protection solutions. And you can see that in the uptake of domestic foundation. So that's a tool that we talk about. It's the name of this webcast, after all, since 2017. But if you look at the numbers today, it has dramatically evolved. And we predicted earlier, that was last year, that there would be around 750 foundation registered in 2025. I'm glad to report we were wrong. It was actually almost 100 more across ADGM, DIFC, and Ras Al Khaimah. And I think you can look at it multiple ways. One is the people from abroad that are actually recognizing that this is a good tool for local needs, but also for international needs. You start to have more jurisdictions that are looking at it as a credible alternative to other, let's say, less substantiated, less credible jurisdiction. And really, it's domestically, because domestically for the local market, for the rooted regional market, it is about now the fiscal efficiency are understood, the tools are well accepted by counterparties, by banks, etc. So we believe that this will continue. The first trend in terms of numbers indicates that we are going to have a 1,000 foundation year, and we're very happy about this. But it's not only about foundation, it's about all the assets you can do, all the asset allocation that you can do, the versatility of the tool. But unfortunately, I mean, there's a downside to everything. Yes, so it also means that a lot of parties are entering the market without necessarily the right knowledge because they see a tool that they think is as simple as a company. Yes, foundations are reasonably easy to understand, but they are different than companies, and it's not necessarily for anyone to be able to manage that. And for that, at NHQ, we have developed a program which enables people that maybe started with a firm that doesn't necessarily have all the competence to transition smoothly to us and ensure that their foundation or foundations remain compliant, effective, and future ready.
Yeah, as you just said about these operators lacking the required expertise to manage foundation, this is quite topical, Jan. And indeed, unfortunately, we've been seeing an alarming number of service providers here in the UAE delivering foundation services without having the appropriate technical skills for that. And this is exactly what we'll be discussing in our next mini-series to be launched in about 2 weeks. Watch the space.
Don't wait, that'll be fun. So that's the 2 trends. Shall we tackle a third one?
Yes, so I wanted to ask you, where do you see the UAE going then?
So I mentioned that the UAE has really stopped to be what we would define as a local or international center, is really calibrated as a global one. And that is because uniquely it caters to these 3 buckets. Yeah, it's not an offshore center that would cater just to the world and have no client. It is not just a local center for local and regional. It's actually a mix of both. And that is very unique if you look at the lifestyle, if you look at the ability to seek residency. So I believe, and I'm very bullish, but that the only way is up. ADGM, the IFC, and Ras Al Khaimah are now properly on the map. You can see that the trend of people coming here and calling this place home will continue, clearly. And I'll illustrate that with 3 very topical examples. I call this one the Great Escape. I'm sure that a lot of people post-Brexit will recognize themselves into that. That's them before. And usually when they shift here, it's for permanent residency, lifestyle, etc. And quite regularly to also make use of the ecosystem in terms of structures. Typically here it's a foundation topping an SFO, verticals of both portfolio custodized abroad, I must add in their case, and local and international real estate. So that is as efficient as it gets and clearly a trend. That's the sort of people that the UAE, I think, will continue to attract. But it's not only UK or say old Europe or the regional market. We have seen, and I believe we will continue to see, substantial Asia hedge, i.e. people that previously were delivering more and for using more Hong Kong, Singapore as structuring jurisdiction, and now wants to hedge, wants to have a second leg here, also for deal flow. You see a lot of Asian families being here, living here, investing in real estate, and for that, clearly domestic structure have an advantage. They will not necessarily be completely consolidated into what they have in Asia. We see that as a multi-hub strategy, something in Asia, something in the Middle East for the emerging, let's say, market, maybe something US side. And I genuinely believe that the last trend is we are going not to coming to America, but coming from America. We have seen a substantial numbers of money managers establishing or bulking up a permanent establishment here in Abu Dhabi or in the DIFC. We have also seen a number of proprietary investment allocators, i.e. single family offices setting up shop here. This is new. We have started to see them at Abu Dhabi Finance Week last year. I think they follow the footpath of these larger, more prominent SFOs, the name of which are in the public domain. This is clearly what we see is families that previously were very US, or shall I say US or North America centric, either by way of being US themselves or by being Latin America and using the US a lot. This is a complete new demographic that has turned its attention to the UAE thanks to multiple factors. And this is typically a case that we have just set up for a family that has US ties, moved here, kept its structure in the US, but then here, because it had to do and repackage a few trusts that were with institutional trustees, they set up a foundation as a private trust foundation with a PTC under it. And that is actually the trustee of these multiple trusts that they have chosen to keep, noticeably, still keeping the custody in other jurisdictions. So this, we believe, is the trend, is that the UAE is really becoming a global platform, not only because it offers access to the clients that are here, that increasingly coming here, but also the clients using this platform, whether they have a residency here or not necessarily, because after all, the UAE is where the world meets.
Yeah. So as I understood, it's less about migration and relocation per se, and more about the diversification, having multiple hubs and working in parallel, right?
I think it's a combination of both. We, as a firm, look at residency as a wealth protection tool. So we consider a residency and citizenship in a holistic manner, the same way as we would look at deal flow. So it's not only about, okay, do I have a structure that I'm not controlling and that is tax efficient? That's not enough. The modern family wants flexibility. The modern family wants some sort of structure that can fit around their asset allocation agenda. And if you want private equity exposure, angel investment, debts, etc., you will be very frustrated if you deal with an institutional trustee, and that's perfectly fine. You can have an institutional trustee to have assets custodized, say, in Singapore, and you will have another or several other verticals for slightly different asset classes, maybe at different time in their vintage. So that's where we think the world is going.
Okay, good. Thank you, Ian, for your input, and look forward to seeing you and speaking with you again about what we are seeing on the ground in terms of quality and capability of operators here in the UAE.
Very good. Thank you very much, and talk to you next week.